Welcome to the ultimate, as in final or last, div review for REL 6 and REL 7 for Season 9.
It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, this is the last one because Week 13 has happened, and all the playoff spots are locked in, or as about locked in as they can get. We are going to take a look at how the Div 6 and Div 7 have shaped up over the last 13 weeks. It'll be probably a little bit shorter because we have the playoff spots confirmed. So we'll look at the teams that are going to playoffs and we'll see what the results of this last week were and give you the results of our sort of tipping comp between the two of us throughout this season. So shall we bring this down into the game and we can see what happened in Week 13 in Div 6?
Sounds like a plan.
Not a lot, because there are several games that haven't been played.
Div 6, you disappoint me. I mean, I have it on good authority that Hufflepuff Heroes versus Great Cold Ones is being played now. It got a little delayed because of some scheduling mistakes, but it looks like they're going to hammer it out now.
Yeah, and there's a couple of bye weeks in this div as well now too. There are two, the top one and the bottom one here, so those aren't going to get played, which means there are only 5 games to play in this div, and 2 of them haven't played yet. The good news is they're probably not going to affect the playoff results in any meaningful way.
It is technically possible for both Eyes and Mike and Average Rice to overtake My Stays, but they require, 10-0 and 11-0, you said, respectively?
Yeah, it's very unlikely. We'll get to that in a second. So the Bad QB Squad versus the now a bye week is irrelevant. That is a bye week. Then we had Chaos versus Chorfs, Respectable Gents versus Rouge's Gallery. We both predicted that Chorfs would win this, and they did 1-0. Yeah.
Yep, looks like nothing too flashy. Both sides actually inflicted 3 injuries. The Chorfs surprisingly were outblocked by the Chaos. I guess that superior strength was being wielded.
Yeah, that's interesting, considering that there aren't a whole lot of skills on that Chaos team. There's a lot of movement and stuff.
Chaos are pretty good at getting blocks. They can always get a blitz in because of horns. They have Chaos Warriors. They have more strength.
Horns is such a good skill. I'd like, after playing so much Nurgle and then going to play other teams, not having strength 4 on the blitz is so... It's something you get used to, and then you forget how good it is. But the Chaos outblocked the Chaos Dwarfs. However, the Chaos Dwarfs, did Chaos Dwarf things. There are more KOs and casualties sustained and a death for the Respectable Gents. Although, so the Chorfs, while they took more blocks, they were more efficient with their blocks. And you remove Chaos players, and they will eventually lose. While the sort of possession numbers look pretty similar, I imagine that once the injury started happening for the Chaos, that this was mostly in control of the Chorfs, and they just sort of held on to the ball until turn 16.
Indeed. Nothing much to say about that.
Yep. Then we had Elements of Style and BioWare for Life. My Stays again styling on his opponent. I think last week he had a 6-0 win last week, and this is a 5-1. Thankfully, it actually really helped him out here because the TD differential is the thing that's probably going to matter. We predicted the Wood Elves would win this, and they did, 5-1. The injured lineman got MVP, which is a little annoying, but one of these good Vamps got MVP as well, so that's a good place for it, at least.
Yeah, totally.
Not a whole lot of blocks on either sides, but the Vampires managed to injure/KO some of their own players, certainly, and they did inflict a death upon the Elements of Style, so despite the 5-1, they're not getting away scot-free. A lot of injuries sustained there.
So much SPP, though. The Wood Elves get 6, 12, 14, 17, 18, 20, 26 SPP.
Yep. 5 touchdowns will certainly do that. And then we have, the Great Cold Ones and Hufflepuff Heroes, which hasn't gotten played yet. So the interesting thing about this is that currently in the standings, My Stays is in... Well, I guess we can talk about both of these games. Great Cold Ones versus Hufflepuff Heroes, and the Average Race Joes versus Fogmire Fen Beasts. After this week, My Stays is currently at 27 points. Average Rice and Eisen Mike are both at 24. so that with a win in either of these matches, they could tie MyStays. However, because of MyStay's ridiculous last two games, he gained himself a 10 touchdown differential, right, with 4 in this game and 6 last week. He has a touchdown differential of 5, or 15, sorry. Where Eisenmike currently has a touchdown differential of 5, and Average Rice has a touchdown differential of 6. So if they want to overtake Eisenmike on the leaderboards, which we're talking about, so we might as well look at, they will need to win by either 10 or 11-0, which is essentially impossible. It's not technically impossible, but it's essentially
incredibly unlikely.
Without collusion, yes. So that's very likely going to be MyStays going to the playoffs, and almost entirely because of his last 2 ridiculous games. Like, if he didn't run up the score that much, like if he didn't gain a plus 10 touchdown differential, he'd be at 6 or 7 instead of 15, because he probably would have still won those games. And then all Eisenmike or Average Rice would have to do is win by 2, which is a lot more reasonable than 10. So the fact that he utterly annihilated his opponents in his last 2 games is actually really, really significant. So BioWare for Life, Dire Sick Fish, and Dead Wrestler Society, which is Draenor, shouldn't feel bad about him trying really hard to run up the score there, because it's actually why he's in the playoffs. He needed those points, and he got them.
He did indeed. So yeah, we can effectively confirm that I guess let's finish the schedule and then we can talk that out. Then we have Rage Dwarf versus Dead Wrestler Society, so Draenor versus Unseen Walker, 1-1. I think I predicted the Dwarfs to win this.
Yeah, we both predicted the Dwarfs to win this. And there's a tie, so nothing there. It's worth noting that I predicted the Norse and you predicted the Khemri for the Eisenmike matchup. The results are mostly irrelevant unless he wins by 10, but that is a contentious pick we did have that might matter for our score at the end, so keep that in mind.
What about Average Rice versus Fogmire?
We both predicted Average Rice, so that won't change our relative positions at all. So if we're off by under 5 points from each other at the end of this, that match between the Norse and the Khemri could be a thing that we'll have to check up on later to confirm the scores.
Yep.
But yeah, so we predicted Dwarfs 1-1. And once again, this mattered a lot because Unseen Walker with this tie brings him to 26 points. So if he won, he'd actually be at 28, ahead of MyStays' 27, and therefore in second comfortably and in the playoffs. So the fact that this resulted in a tie or a loss would have done the same thing for Ragedorf is how MyStays is sort of squeaking into the playoffs here. So.
Yeah, Draenor being the playoff decider in both cases.
Yeah, very interesting. Very little ball possession for both teams. Like, the ball was on the floor for the vast majority of this game, it looks like. I wonder if
it was raining. Wow, Ragedorf beat the shit out of the Blizzards.
Yes, they did.
It must have been some skink nonsense.
59 blocks sustained.
Injuries.
Yeah. Ouch. I'm curious about the pickups.
Wait, he had 9 armor breaks and got 3 KOs and 6 injuries. He got 100% removals.
Wow. That's impressive.
It's a thing.
He tried 5 pickups and 4 of them were successful. So I feel like it's not like he failed the pickups, but it kept getting out of his hands somehow. And Draenor attempted 9 and succeeded 4. So there were like a total of 14 pickup attempts in this game, which is 1 a turn. Just nobody could pick up the ball, or like it kept getting knocked out of their hands and had to pick it up again for some reason, which explains why the ball was on the floor for most of the game. But well done on Draenor to keep that to a tie despite the dwarves making armor 9 look fake.
No, the armor was amazing.
Was it? Or the casualty rolls being ridiculous, I guess.
Draenor's armor worked 81% of the time. It's like AB10.
Armor was good, but the removal rolls.
The injury was terrible, but the armor rolls were amazing.
So yeah, that's quite a game.
Yes, indeed.
A lot of failing to pick up the ball on both sides, and then or getting the ball knocked out of their hands and stuff, and only managing to score once both sides. So there you go. So this is the leaderboard after all that. So like we said, the fact that Ragedstorf only tied that puts them in third. So I feel like MyStays has Drenar to thank for that one. Should send you some flowers or something. I don't actually know the numbers. I'd have to look up a D6 distribution.
I have one pinned. Just a sec.
That's not a cumulative distribution, though. I want a cumulative distribution. The one that I'm looking at is...
Armor 9 has 16.66% chance to break, as it is a 10+ roll.
Cumulative. That's the wrong sort of cumulative. I want the other way. Anyway, you have it there, so that's fine. Because I show having a 10+ as being 91.67, which is like it's because it's
so it's not actually armor 10. Like it broke more than expected, assuming every single hit was a non-mighty blow hit on AV9, which is definitely not the case. So
yeah. Anyway, yeah. So MyStays has Draenor to thank for that, keeping him in second place with Ragedstorf being kept to a tie or a loss. And Average Rice or Eisenmike could jump ahead of Unseen Walker with a win, but they very likely will not pass MyStays' touchdown differential. So we're going to have Rouge's Gallery in first, going to the playoffs, and the Elements of Style by MyStays going to the playoffs in second from Div 6. So do you want to take a look at those two teams and what they look like now before they go to the playoffs?
Let's start with Mr. J. Mr. J will be playing Skyrider CBB, which we'll look at in a minute, but let's start off, like you said, by looking at his team.
So we do have it's a gross Chaos Dwarf team. I mean, there's a lot of Claw Mighty Blow. There's a Claw Mighty Blow piling on Horns Niggle, unfortunately, so he's a big target. A lot of there's no undeveloped Dwarfs here, and all the development is good development.
Yep, and he's going to have everything back because you do get an MNG reset. So Grundy the second, despite his AV bust, which isn't really that important, will be back.
Yep.
Fresh with his new guard at 16 SPP. So he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guard.
Yeah, 7 guard and 3 Claw Mighty Blow.
7 guard is nuts. That's as much as dwarves usually have.
He has more Claw Mighty Blow than I do on my Nurgle team, just to let you know.
You should get more of that.
Working on it.
So yeah, he's got 3 Claw Mighty Blow, one of which is piling on. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Mighty Blow, period. 7 guard. He's got an Agi Up Bull Centaur Ball Carrier. He's got a Block Guard Hobgoblin. He's got the classic DP. I mean, this is an amazing team. The only thing it's missing is kick. And to get rid of that 4th reroll, you fucking ape.
Yep.
You don't need the greed. I know you like it, but it's giving away TV at this point, which you don't need. So he's at 1830. He could drop another 70k and be at like a pretty lean, to be honest, 1660, which would put him in a great spot for fighting his opponent, which is...
Oh, yeah. Which division is Oh, I don't know if I can get there because
you can't just go through the Spin League and
yes.
And search for Skyriders CBB. It's a necromantic team. So Claw Mighty Blow Off. One of the wolves in this team, as you will see in a moment, is that
the coach?
Claw Mighty Blow.
Is it the team name or the coach name?
The team name is Skyriders CBB. Space.
Sky.
Like 2 words. Skyriders, 1 word. Space CBB. It's a 1740 or 1890 necro team.
There we go. It just took a minute to search it. There we go. So this is the team, coached by Muppetillo, that Mr. J will be playing in the first round, the round of 64 of the playoffs.
It's a good-looking necro team. He's got an amazing wolf in Claw Mighty Blow, block piling on, jump up. So that is 2 doubles, the perfect number of doubles for werewolves to have. And he has a Blodge 1 for kind of general ball carrying / safety work. He's got a great support / safety white in an Agi 4 block tackle Mighty Blow guard. So mobile guard / sacking potential from the tackle hit. It is his only tackle, but against Chorfs,
that doesn't
it
really
literally
matter.
doesn't matter because he doesn't have any dodge. So
Yeah.
who cares?
I was gonna say I really like the Ghoul Soulforged. He's a good ball carrier with Blodge Step, Sure Hands, but then when you're not carrying the ball and on defense, you also have Diving Tackle to be annoying, and the Sure Hands Blodge combos with that really well. It works for both ball carrying and defensiveness. Not that the Diving Tackle matters against Chorfs, really. Well, there's the potential. He has Break Tackle.
There's a
on one
break
of the
tackle
goals.
dodge. Yeah.
So that could matter, but I really like this Ghoul. It's a cool piece. It's got very.
It's worth noting that Mr. J does not have any mobile tackle pieces. He is going to be relying on the Bull Centaurs to be doing the safety work because the Chorfs are obviously very slow. And they have no tackle, and the strip ball is useless because his carrier has Sure Hands. So he might have some trouble sacking the ghouls or the werewolves if there's a potato play, because he's going to be pal fishing.
So if Mr. J drops his reroll, it's worth noting he will get inducements versus this Necro team, which is really silly.
He doesn't even need to. They'll be at 1890 because they're going to get their ghoul back, who is MNG'd. So their actual TV is 1890.
But I don't see a Ghoul.
Soulforged the second. Oh, is he not MNG'd on your screen?
No, he is not.
Oh, he's MNG'd on this. So.
Oh,
Oh, 1740. He must have dropped some stuff. Yeah, so he must have dropped some stuff. Because on my screen, he's showing as a higher TV than he is on yours.
Anyway, I think that as long as Mr. J is careful and doesn't because Chorfs are slow, and there's movement 8, movement 7 on the Necro team, as long as he's careful to not allow that movement do movement things and get too far past him, or make sure he doesn't leave a hole to let them get too far past, he shouldn't have too difficult of a time. That Mighty Blow Claw Guard is going to outbash the absolute crap out of this Necro team.
Especially a Necro team with only 4 guard. Like, there's going to be a great opportunity for Frenzy Traps. He has no Strength Ups. He has no Dauntless. I mean, not that you really need Dauntless versus Chorfs. But he's going to be aggressively outguarded. If he ever gets into a scrum with the Chorfs with their superior number of Claw, their no Frenzy, like, he's just going to get torn apart. The only way the Necro can win this is by utilizing their speed and dodge to kind of outrun the Chorfs, or by playing some sort of surgical hitting game where they're constantly picking off Chorf blockers that are like isolated or getting a bowl out early. Like, this is Mr. J's game to lose, I feel. So I think it'll be an interesting one, and I think he's gonna do well. Oh, I suppose Mr. J is actually going to be at 1970 because he's going to get Grundy the second back.
Right,
but he can drop a ton of TV, so he should. So that's Mr. J. I think he's got a pretty good matchup for him. Next up, we are going to be looking at MyStays' team. And MyStays' opponent, for reference, is Nurgle Murgle Urgle. God help his soul. Yeah. I mean, Nurgle is, generally speaking, not bad for what else. They don't really have the flexibility to usually prioritize sacking skills like tackle. Like, they usually have like a dedicated Raj, Rackle, whatever, something like that, which does not help you when the entire opposing team has dodge, really. So it's not a great matchup for Nurgle. That said, it is 2,400 TV Nurgle, 2,300. So MyStays is going to be getting like 500k.
Yeah, with Nurgle versus Wood Elves, it's all about kill enough Wood Elves before they outscore you, because it's so very easy for them to, even if they just let you score, it's going to take you 3 turns to run up the pitch because you're slow. And then MyStays 1 turns. Great, continue. Right, he'll just outscore you and eventually have a good shot to steal the ball from you or something, and then just win.
I mean, MyStays has a natural 1-turner in Lithium. Like, that guy is impossible to stop for Wood Elves.
Or for Nurgle, yeah. It's gonna. I haven't looked at the Nurgle team, but a lot of the skills are going to be mostly irrelevant against Wood Elves, sadly.
Yep, the Mighty Blow spam will usually help. They can generally cause a fair bit of attrition,
and that's how Nurgle will have to win. Is they're going to aim to go first, and they're going to see if their line blocks like pay off, and then if they pay off, and eventually they score. Hopefully their line blocks in the next half will pay off, and like etc. It's the only way Nurgle will win this really is through attrition. But this is MyStays' team is up on screen. Lithium is a gross catcher, and I'm sure he'll do nonsense in the Nurgle match as well. And we have Boron the catcher who is shadowing now. Look, shadowing.
It's beautiful. I mean, it's not. It's interesting, but It's yeah, it's a thing.
It's a thing.
I wonder if it's for the memes. No, I mean, like, I get it. He's trying to, like, keep a sticky piece around to kind of, like, throw on something, especially with the guard, to always provide that assist. That said, probably a better fit for Carbon, but Carbon didn't level, so here we are.
Then guard helps out with the 1-turns if Lithium is ever not on the field for it for some reason.
Yeah, his 2 guard catchers has Calcium, which is a pretty fresh catcher, has also rolled a double.
Yep, very good.
Oh, he's played 11 matches. He's been around basically all season. So, yeah, my Stace is a really good Wood Elf team. It's like it's got no linemen, but who needs linemen?
Yeah, loner linemen are good enough. They go on the line anyway. That's what they're for. 2 great War Dancers and a Movement 9, a Dauntless Tackle one, and then we've got a Strip Ball one on the other side. Great War Dancers.
Yep.
It's a silly Wood Elf team. It's 1760 in like 9, or it's it's a 1700-ish Wood Elf team with 9 players. Like it's really silly.
10 players, but yes.
Well, yeah, but it's also 1760. So if you don't count the unskilled linemen, it's
I see. Yes.
1700 of this TV is just in 9 players, which is really silly.
Yep, and then he is going to be playing Nurgle, Murgle, Urgle. Would you like me to spell that, or can you just search Nurgle, Murgle?
I'll search Murgle and see what happens. Murgle.
Yeah. Which is a 2360 Nurgle team. They're going to get an MNG reset.
There's a surprising number of Nurgle, Urgle, Murgle teams. There's Nurgle, Murgle, Urgle, Murgle, Burgle, Nurgle, Murgle, Burgle, Murgle, Murgle, Murgle Horde Stinkers, Murgle, 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 Merg, Murgle, Gurgle, Murgle, Burgle, Murgle, Gurgle, and Murgle, Wurgle on my front page here.
It's none of those.
It's Nurgle, Murgle, Urgle, right? URGLE? No, is that on it? Okay.
It's not the 1460 team. It's Urgle, like OURGLE.
This is okay. There it is. 2190.
Yeah, 2190.
There's one right next to it called Nurgler Murgle, which is 2440. That was a surprisingly difficult team to find. But there you go. It is a 16-player Nurgle team. Oh, wait, this isn't right, is it?
Yeah, REBBL playoffs. So it's worth noting that the Beast of Nurgle has eaten a AV bust.
Is it? So yeah, it's. I guess his coach name must be different than his name.
Yeah, we're Raven or we're Raven. Yeah, that's him.
Okay.
I'm looking at your screen so I can see what's going on. So we have, we have a block. We have a block beast who has unfortunately eaten a AV bust, so he's probably going to get fired after this playoff.
Yeah, the beast is just so useful against Wood Elves. If you can just park him on catchers, they have such a bad time.
Yep, and I think that the Beast of Nurgle, Disturbing Presence, and Foul Appearance are the 3 things that make the Nurgle versus Welf matchup less sad than the Chaos versus Welf matchup. Yep. Though the counter to that is that Nurgle are much slower than Chaos. So.
And then the Wood Elves just outrun you instead of outpassing you. They just don't pass; they just run instead, and accomplishes the same thing, just slightly slower.
Lithium is a speedy boy, so.
Yep.
So let's go through these Nurgle warriors. We've got a Chaos warrior, or Nurgle warrior rather, with block, guard, stand firm, solid support piece. The Nurgle warrior has Claw, Mighty Blow, block, guard. Again, super standard.
Yep.
There's a Blodge Nurgle warrior and a block Nurgle warrior. So 2 relatively unskilled Nurgle warriors in terms of either having kill or support skills.
The stand firm one is probably the most useful in this matchup, honestly. He's difficult to move. But it's very unlikely that the Wood Elves will even bother to block a Nurgle warrior at any point during the game. So,
yep, and I mean the cage is pretty safe when the ball is being carried on Katroina, who is a Blodge, Sure Hands plus Strength, extra arms, Pestigore.
Yeah, the plus Strength is the
2
Sure
plus
Hands.
pickups. 2 plus pickups with an extra reroll, so they get rid of the Nurgle ball picking up problem. And Strength 4 Blodge is kind of tough for even War Dancers to deal with, especially because my saves do not have the what I thought was automatic plus Strength or plus Agility that War Dancers get.
He does have the Dauntless War Dancer, which could do which you might consider using there, because the Strip Ball is sort of useless against Sure Hands. But a Strength 4 Sure Hands ball carrier is super annoying, especially since he does have at least He has 3 guard on this team, so at least 2. You can put 1 on each corner and then make the cage dives pretty hard if you're really safe about it. The sad part about that is you're walking up the pitch at 4 squares a turn. And, it's if the Wood Elves slow you down at all, even without trying to knock the ball free, you probably only score once in your half, and then he 1-turns, and then it goes to his half, and then he scores and you lose.
Yep, and MyStays is going to be doing everything he can to make the progression messy. He really wants to cause a scrum, cause things to get a little out of hand, because he's got so much survivability skills in like tons of blodge. He's got 4 or 5 blodge?
Yeah, there's a lot.
He's got 5 blodge and 1 dodge. He's going to be really tough to knock down for this Nurgle team with its 1 tackle. Hey, look, it's a Nurgle team. It has exactly 1 tackle. I didn't even look at it before this.
Yeah, but the 1 tackle is really good. It's blodge, mighty blow, claw tackle.
Niggle.
Yeah.
If he can armor break that or get it on the ground to foul it, could be fun.
But the Nurgle's game plan here is going to be using Hunger the Pestigore to remove a Wood Elf every turn, and if he can do that, that's how he wins this. If he can't do that, he will just lose to MyStays. If MyStays slows him down 1 or 2 turns on his drive, then he loses, because MyStays will 1 turn and then score again in the other drive, and he doesn't even have to worry about trying to steal the ball from the Nurgle. It's just he'll outscore you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Are you in, I don't know if you're in chat or not, MyStays, but have you thought about what you're going to do with your inducement money? You've got 500k, which I think is around what you'd need to get something like Eldril Wizard Apo or something like that to keep your bench shelf.
Wizard is always a good option.
Yeah, the Wizard's an auto pick, especially versus Nurgle, I feel.
Some sort of star player or even just another loner of some kind is probably good, because you're going to lose a player or two to the Pestigore, so having the ability to put more randos on the line might be useful.
Yeah, especially because you never want to put...
How much? Because MyStays gets at least 1 loner, right? Which is
it's not quite 500k, yeah.
And
so...
the Nurgle are actually at 2180, not 2190. And they have the option of firing like 3 Rotters, and they probably will. Like, honestly, I would. You don't need them against Wood Elves, and you can save yourself another 120 or 160.
Yeah, he might not get much in the way of inducements. He's definitely going to get a Wizard, because he'll probably pay out of pocket for 1 at this point, if he has to.
Sure.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it could go. I think most of the time this goes to the Wood Elves and MyStays, and I'm going to cheer him on because he's from my div. But this can, as we've seen before, if Nurgle do Nurgle things, they can beat anybody if they get lucky with removals and that sort of thing. So if Hunger fires, if What fires, then and we lose too many elves, then it's going to be difficult for MyStays to outscore his problems if he doesn't have any players left. But it depends on if the Nurgle get lucky. But I think if you played this game 100 times, MyStays wins more often than not.
I agree. It's gonna be a big ask though. There's a lot of mighty blow to cause attrition. The total lack of to echo is going to be a godsend for him. But there's a couple of wrestle pieces lurking around to get things onto the ground for these DP Rotters. He's got a DP 2 heads Rotter, which is so bloaty, but it's so great.
I love the look of 2 heads on a Rotter too. I'm already back to the team, otherwise I'd show you, but it's such a stupid little animation.
He's got a little stomach head, but he's going to be dodging him out to get fouls, which I find deeply pleasant.
It's great.
All right, you want to move on to Div 7?
I certainly do. We can look at the schedule, and this one, unlike Div 6, actually has all his games played. Hooray!
Yep. So in summary, though, we think MyStays is slightly favored, and we think Mr. J is heavily favored.
Yep. So we'll be cheering those on in round 1, round of 64.
And let us know when you're playing your games, because we can probably dibs them, and we will try to do so for casting.
I will dibs as many playoff games as I can feasibly get that are within sort of my time zones. Unfortunately, one I really wanted was the Minors Champion, because I casted the Minors Finals the other day, but unfortunately that's at 6 a.m. my time on a Saturday, which is not going to happen.
Yeah, not a thing. That's fine, though. We'll see how it goes. I think I looked at both of those teams when I was doing my picks, and I think it's orcs, like slightly like 1 season developed orcs.
Yep.
Versus 2 season developed more or less lizards. I think the lizards have that in the bag. to be honest.
Yeah, I would say so too. I think I don't know Anteater Reborn very well. I've never seen him play games, so I don't know how skilled or not he is. But I think just based on the teams that the Minors champ actually may get past the first round for once.
For the first time ever, yeah.
It is worth noting that Rouge's Gallery is scheduled currently. It's at 11:30 a.m. my time on Sunday, so that's potentially a thing I can do.
Yeah, I'll be recovering from my party, but I should be around.
So I'll see if I can get that one claimed, and
yeah, you should put our name down for it.
We'll ideally be casting that one on Sunday at 11:30 a.m. my time, which is 2:30 p.m. UTC on Sunday, the 7th of October. So this is Div 7.
No one has claimed it, so yeah, we can totally do that.
I don't have access to the calendar randomly, so I have to request it, but yeah.
I'll do it in the side or in the background.
Sure. So first we had Wood United and Armor Furnace is a bye week, but Wood United, unfortunately, due to their early problems in this div, they couldn't play their first 3 or 4 weeks because he had some issues with his Steam account and stuff. It was kind of at the bottom of the div for most of the season, so this admin call doesn't affect the playoff results at all. We do have the Crawdad Zydeco Experience versus the Norse Unleashed. So this is humans versus Norse. So it's worth noting that since we did, I did last week alone. I did 7 with Iron Master because he was around. But Shadorra was not here for this one. So we did our predictions separately, and he just sent them to me later, and then I wrote them down and added them to the YouTube description and stuff. So we didn't talk about our predictions at all. We were basically completely identical in Div 6, other than the Khemri Norse game, which hasn't been played yet. However, in Div 7, for every single match except for Scaled Measures versus the Rotterhood, which was a tie anyway, we predicted different teams.
Awesome. I did it while sick in like 5 minutes, so it didn't get my usual scrutiny.
It's worth noting that every match was not a tie except for the one that we'd agreed on, which was a tie.
So who won? I don't know. Actually.
This is going to be a big swing. Right, humans versus Norse. I predicted the humans, and you predicted the Norse, and the humans won 2-1. So that's some points for me there. The thrower picks up MVP, and levels him, and a lineman picks up MVP, which levels him. But he's also gotten injured, so I don't know if he's gonna stick around. Nope, player was not found. Similar ball possessions. Humans managed to outscore the Norse, however. They outblocked the Norse as well, and out-removed the Norse. So it looks like we have a Norse game where the Armor 7 didn't hold up, and it's sort of, you got too many players removed, and once Norse go down players, they go down more players, and it gets worse.
Yeah, though it looks like the injury dice were also pretty kind to the humans. The Norse Unleashed had 14 breaks, and they got 2 KOs and 1 injury out of it, which is way below average. So
yeah, maybe being a bit kind to the humans there, but if Armor 7 fails on a Norse team, then the Norse team fails pretty hard sometimes. So that's what occurred there. Then we have an interesting. I'm going to skip over the Mesozoic Mighty Men and Rotting Snatches for a second, because there are 2 games in this div that had some pretty serious playoff implications for this week, and I'd like to talk about them last. So we had Friendship is Massacre and Werewolf of Wall Street. Let's see. I predicted the Undead, and Shadorra predicted the Necro, and the Undead won 2-1.
Killed me, didn't you?
Oh yeah, yes. I think I was right every time, and you were wrong every time.
I don't predict things when I'm sick. Like, it just shouldn't. I don't even know why I said these things. I was just like writing them down at random.
Fair enough. But you lost a whole bunch of coin flips in a row then, if that's the case.
I mean, they're not coin flips, as evidenced by our pretty high scores, really.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, like, if you predicted them randomly, you lost every random pick, is what I'm trying to say by the coin flips. Anyway, Friendship is Massacre 2-1 over Werewolf of Wall Street. Big Smackintosh, the zombie, picks up MVP. I like that name. And Bitey McStabbinslash, the Agi busted werewolf, picks up MVP. So more SPP going to him.
He doesn't really need it.
Not really. Let's see. So Werewolf of Wall Street outblocking the Undead pretty seriously. also out ball possessing the undead. So
and out killing the undead. The undead got a little massacred.
Yeah, so I don't really know how Morley managed to pull off a 2-1 here. Maybe those all came really late after the scores had already happened or something. But like the Necro out blocked, out removed, and out ball controlled the undead and still somehow lost. So that is with it's really hard to say without seeing the game. Sometimes these things happen.
The Necro got their armor was paper. They got armor broken as much as you'd expect wood elves to get armor broken. Admittedly, there's a fair bit of mighty blow on the undead side of things, and Necro are mostly armor 8 or lower, so maybe that's not too out of line.
So Cunning Fox Pup in chat confirming what my earlier suspicions were, in that all of these injuries for the Necro on the undead came at the end. So the undead managed to score early, probably twice, and then all the removals happened for the Necro, and by then it was too late to overcome the TD differential potentially.
It also looks like the Necro were down players most of the game, at least from KOs, because they made 7 KO rolls and failed all but 2 of them.
Well, so that's likely what occurred in that game. Unfortunately for Cunning Fox Pup, and fortunately for Morley.
But we don't know what those KOs were. They could have been zombies. And then there was the Authorx and Yeti to Conquer, where apparently I was wrong again.
Yes, you predicted the Orcs would win this, and I predicted the Norse would win this, and the Norse won it 2-1.
Despite the Authorx getting 19 armor breaks. And getting a statistically expected 6 KOs and 7 injuries out of that. Yeah. Oh, both ghouls. He was down both ghouls literally the entire game.
Wow. Oof, that sucks. Iron Master looks like he was just in control of the ball more often than the Orcs, despite the Orcs removing a whole bunch of players from the Norse team. The Norse got some casualties of their own, 5 casualties and 3 KOs sustained for the Authorx. So if those KOs came back for Iron Master, then he could have actually been at a player advantage for a while, which is not something you really expect going into a game as Orcs against Norse, but there you go. Let's see, those KOs... 5 successes, 4 failures. Could have been the same person a couple times or what have you, but you did at least get 5 of those KOs back at some point. So that is a pretty significant amount of them.
Yep. Doof's armor not holding, 64% armor break sustained is pretty high for an armor 9 team, certainly. Even one facing a good amount of mighty blow and one
piling on and all that good.
Piling on doesn't impact the stat, I don't think, because it's 2 separate armor rolls if you didn't break armor the first time.
Is it 2 separate? Well, it's a
I believe it counts as 2 separate armor rolls. I think so. But
I think it should, because anything else counts that way, right? If you fail a dodge and use the dodge skill to reroll it, it's 2 dodges where 1 failed and 1 worked. So I think it's the same way I would imagine it's the same way for armor rolls with piling on in the stats.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeti to Conquer, on the other hand, had Norse expected armor. Probably pretty good armor rolls, to be honest, considering the amount of mighty blow he's facing.
There's a lot.
Not like insane, but like pretty good.
It was like 4 or 5 on Doof's team.
Yep. Other than that, looks pretty as expected. Wild Animal was pretty good, unless the Yeti was exclusively making blocks, which is unlikely. So the Yeti
did try 2 Yeti rerolls though, with this 1 successful and 1 failure loner, which is kind of funny. Or they may have just been linemen or something, but two rerolls used on loners is always a scary thing.
Yep. Other than that, looks pretty standard. Block dice are pretty good for Yeti to Conquer. Pretty decent, pretty average really for the Orcs. Hard to say just by looking at the block dice.
And just the injury game went in. It's the opposite of what happened in the other Norse game. Armor 7 held enough that they could get the tempo going and out remove their opponents a little bit, and then it becomes a lot easier for them. So,
and speaking of teams that scored before they got utterly annihilated, Archangel's Will versus the Sons of Sam, where Teton inflicted 9 KOs and injuries and lost 2-0.
Yep. It's worth noting, you predicted the Orcs, and I predicted the Wood Elves.
Yeah, I got it.
So Archangel's Will wins 2-0 over the Sons of Sam. So while we'll go back to Cake's game after this, because this is one of the games that mattered for the playoff standings. Archangel finishes the season at 28 points. which is tied with Kakengrad finishing the season at 28 points. So it's down to TD differential between those two teams, and Archangel's Will has a TD differential of 11 after this game, and after Kakengrad's game, he has a TD differential of 12. So Kakengrad making the playoffs by 1 touchdown. So
always good.
Telling you how important, touchdowns are in the regular season. Sometimes things like this could happen. So despite Archangel's Will winning 2-0 and Cake losing 2-1, which we'll go back to in a second, Cake is going into the playoffs on the back of this not being a 3-0 or his game not being a 2-0. It's very, very, very close in Div 7. And we said that weeks and weeks ago when on week 9 or 10 or something, when there were 6 teams tied for second or something dumb like that. There was a lot of teams still in playoff contention, and Archangel's Will was one of them. If he had won this game 3-0 or 4-0, or if Cake had lost 2-0 instead of 2-1, we could be seeing a different team in the playoffs. So commiserations to Archangel there, but it was close, man.
It looks like Archangel used a lightning bolt successfully and was able to just 2-0 it that way. Though it is worth noting, Archangel made 34 dodges. Would you like to guess how many he failed?
Well, I just looked at it, so I can't guess, but 3.
91% successful dodges.
That's a lot of successful dodges.
One of those games where the Wood Elves fail basically nothing.
Yep, and that's your nightmare as a bash team like Oryx, right? I've had that happen to me. It is disengage with no penalty. It can be impossible to nail them down. He did cause a serious amount of attrition despite that, but the dodges were on fire. Sometimes if you're playing a bash team against Wood Elves like that, and they just can get away from you all the time, it can be really frustrating. Because at some point you're basically just begging your opponent to fail a thing, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to get back into it. If the Wood Elves can just, if the Wood Elves don't roll ones, they can kind of do whatever they want in the game. Dodge away, dodge through, pick up, throw, whatever, and there's not really much you can do about it. So that's unfortunate. It sucks.
And on the other hand, attempted 1 dodge and failed. That's even if those are all 2+ dodges, he failed half as many as he should have, which is an indicator of just how dumb that was.
So he did win 2-0, but he ate 5 casualties and 4 KOs for it. So the Orcs trying their best to remove Wood Elves, despite the potential frustration that could have occurred for Lord Teton and the Sons of Sam.
Yep. And then we have Scaled Measures versus the Rotterhood, which was a tie, which is a classic Nurgle result. Ankylosaurus Andy, the Strength 5 block leader Saurus, got MVP, and he leveled, and he got it. Better be guard. It's guard. Good. Strength 5 Saurus deserve guard. Mine was already a killer, which is why he ended up staying a killer. But Strength 5 guard is pretty good.
Mighty Blow block warrior picking up MVP, which is always nice. It's just warrior SPP in general is good. Doesn't really matter.
Yep, getting him 4 SPP, which is 2 Kaz, not hard to get on a Mighty Blow piece, away from
Claw.
Probably guard or claw. I would probably go guard. You'd probably go claw.
Depends on how many he has on his team. If he already has 2 guard, I'd probably go claw.
The Rotterhood getting 17 breaks, 1 KO, and 6 Kaz. So injury dice deciding that they only rolled broken and 1 kill, in fact.
Yeah, Scaled Measures sustaining a KO, 7 casualties, and a death. So another rough week for Lizards and REL.
Indeed. The Nurgle, despite only having 1 touchdown, made 11, 13, 16, 20 SPP. Pretty good.
Insert stupid grin on my face, because we all know how.
Well, it's fine. That team is I put my behind in my past.
Oh my.
That team is done. It's a Lion King reference. Or you got to put your past. I don't know what it is.
Whatever.
I'm going all chaos now. I'll see you again when I have claw of my own. Not that you needed the claw.
No, the claw didn't really do much.
No, the claw fired constantly, but so did literally everything else. So it's one of those games where it's like, oh well, technically claw fired.
My favorite part about that is when I literally forgot about diving tackle and it worked anyway. And
yes, you did a lot of things that should have been punished.
I mean, I forgot about. I literally it's the meme. I literally forgot that diving tackle was a skill and just ignored it, and it didn't. Casual
5+ dodge. Rolled a 6, as I recall.
Yep.
Uh,
Anyway,
so with that, leaderboard looks like this.
Well, we missed
Tommy
one.
Too Tall and Rotting.
I did skip over the Rotting Snatches versus the Mesozoic Mighty Men because I wanted to talk about Archangel's game first. So Cake actually lost this game 2-1. So if he had won this or tied this, he was guaranteed to go. But the fact that he lost meant it all came down to touchdown differential. So the fact that he scored this one touchdown in this loss is why he's in the playoffs. Like it's so close. If he had tied this, it would have been no question. But the loss makes this division incredibly tight, it's kind of exciting. So we see Cake lose to the number 1 player in this division, Tommy Too Tall in the Rotting Snatches, 2-1. So let's take a look.
We had to talk Cake off the ledge after this game because he had sustained 9 injuries. One of them is a strength Bostonosaurus, so he's dead. And then other than that, I think it was like 3 or 4 MNGs. And he was like, well, I made playoffs, but I'm fucked. And then we were like, no, you get an MNG reset, you're fine.
Yeah, he took 12 casualties and 3 KOs.
He took 25 breaks on 39 blocks. And some of that is definitely fouls, but still.
And those 39 blocks and 25 breaks resulted in 12 casualties and 3 KOs, which is...
So 25 blocks should result statistically in around... what is it? So should be around like 9 KOs, 3 KAs, I think, something like that. It's reversed. He got 3 KOs and 9 KAs.
So as mentioned, bad week to be Lizards and REL. Apparently, every Lizard team just eating it this week, unfortunately. Cake managed to score at least 1, which is why he's in this, which is impressive, right? Like he lost that game pretty hard, I would imagine, but the fact that it was against Nurgle may have helped him a bit because it's kind of hard for the Nurgle to do a 3-1. 2-1 is pretty likely, but a 3-1 is very, very rare. And the fact that it wasn't is why Cake's in the playoffs. So he can count his blessings a little bit there with that one, and getting some SPP out of it. He got 12, which isn't unreasonable.
Cake's armor was broken 59% of the time, so similar to our game. Foul appearance, that's normal. Failed 50% of his dodges, which is always a good sign. Failed 4% of tentacle rolls. He made 28 tentacle rolls. Oh no, that's injuries. He made 2 tentacle rolls and failed both. Yes. I'm sorry, I was looking at injury. He made 20. Made what is this? 28 injury rolls.
Yeah, he tried to dodge away from tentacles like twice a turn.
The beast
was just really efficient. Yeah. And it was on like 3
I was
players.
Looking at the wrong row. I am also tired.
Yeah.
Everything else looks pretty standard.
Yep. One loner failure, so he attempted to reroll a loner at some point.
Yeah, the Crocs lasted 8 whole turns. Good for the Crocs.
Good job, Crocs. Wow.
It's impressive given the rest of the team.
And then,
Rotting Snatches had amazing block dice. Only 9 skulls to 17.
Certainly did.
He didn't roll any other dice, really.
He rolled 18 going for it and made all of them.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. That's Nurgle being Nurgle, I guess. That's impressive.
He made one dodge and failed one dodge.
Oh, there you go. Let's look at the leaderboard then.
Yep.
So Rotting Snatches, Tommy Too Tall is on top.
Yep, he'll finish with 32 points, an impressively high number with 10 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss. So that's a very good record for him. It shows Archangel as ahead here, but that is wrong. Blood Bowl does it differently than we do in REL for tiebreakers. It's actually Kakingrad in second. They both have a record of 9-1-3, but Kakingrad's TD differential is 12 and Archangel's is 11, so that puts Kakingrad in second.
Yep.
Ironmaster 25, Galactic with 24, and then we have Teton with 20, Rock Obstrosity 19, Bubsy 18, Do 15, Cunning Fox Pup and Not Nihilak at 12, Feroda Sukar at 11, and Luke at 10, and Slow at 0 because he dropped out very early. What this division looks like.
So let's look at the two teams going to the playoffs. So Tommy Too Tall and Kakingrad.
Which one do you want to start with?
The first one that I find, which is Tommy Too Tall, Rotting Snatches. And he's the number 1, so we should talk about him first anyway. He's at 2010 TV with 160k in the bank, so looking real healthy for a Nurgle team.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of money to replace anybody he loses in the playoffs, in the playoff run. They're generally going to be pretty bloody. He'll run up against some scary teams, so having the bank is nice.
Or to scum some inducements if you
really want one.
Know your opponent is if you need to go all in, if your opponent's already going to get something and you're not putting them over a better break point, it can be good to scum a wizard if you're really desperate, or scum a bribe or something like Though with a bench this deep, bribes are really overrated. Block guard, or guard, stand firm. Beast of Nurgle is disgusting.
Exactly what you want.
Broken Bullet Tooth Tony is disgusting. Mighty Blow Claw, strength up, block.
Yeah, he needs guard and he needs tentacles, and then he'll make everybody sad.
Yeah, so what Tommy Too Tall's team is not good at is pitch control. He has 2 guard. He has the strength up, which is kind of. Well, I mean, it's definitely a pitch control tool, but it's not quite as versatile as guard. But it's quite excellent. But what Tommy Too Tall's team does do is carry the ball really well and kill you.
Yep, he's got 2 amazing Pestigores for those 2 things.
Yeah, one being Agi tackle, which is weird, but he's also kind of the backup sacker, which is interesting.
It was because he was going up against elves and he really needed tackle, and he had none, and that was his only player that had a level available. So it was like I need to win this next game level up rather than a long-term level up.
Yeah. So plus movement plus agi, so he is an elf effectively. He's a wood elf lineman with an armor up. So he's a dark elf lineman, I think. Then he's 7-3-4-8, which I think is a dark elf lineman. Which is funny.
But he also has horns and sure hands and block and tackle
and regen. So yeah, really, really good. Fevered Frankie Four Fingers, another really solid support piece, kind of the only support piece he has, because none of the Nurgle warriors are developed in that direction. Is Blodge, guard, stand firm. Super annoying. He's only strength 3, so that means he's going to get punched fairly often. It's not as good as it is on a strength 4 piece, but still really good.
Yeah, but still, Blodge firm is pretty annoying to remove, even if it's even on a 2 die. It's about 50% ish, right? Yeah. So that's even with only strength 3 and people getting easy-ish 2 dies on you. They have to get a POW in order to remove that guard from wherever it is. So even with a 2 die, that's a 30.5%? Or no, that's 30.5%.
Yep.
Unless they have tackle, but yeah.
Really, really irritating. Even with tackle, that's still only a 55% chance to knock him down.
And then
push is obviously not good enough.
Cousin Avi, being a great killer, finally has another tackle, and he's got block, mighty blow, claw, piling on. Like it's just all of the kill skills, everything you could get to be able to knock down a player, and claw, mighty blow, piling on. So he's running around removing people, and we've got another Pestigore holding onto the ball, and we just got the sort of Nurgle warriors being strength 4 pillars getting in the way. Ideally, more guard would help them out there, but for the most part, if they're just sort of in the way and being strong, they can do most of their job. While
so like
2
broken
do the game.
Yep, broken Bullet Tooth Tony kind of will disincentivize any sort of like aggressive basing strategy for most teams, while Cousin Avi just kind of surgically picks people off.
Yep. So
this team is very tall, which I think is its biggest weakness. I've talked about how
I know that feel, bro.
Galactic's team is poised to do better, I think, next season, but Tommy's is really good right now. The teams that I think beat Tommy's team are really developed bash teams. 2 Claw Mighty Blow might not be enough if you're facing like 5 or 6 Mighty Blow hits a turn, because they outguard you and can just kind of aggressively base your non-claw pieces. And sure, you get that Claw Mighty Blow piling on hit a turn, but like, what are you going to do when you're facing an Orc team with 7 guard and a bunch of Mighty Blow? Like, you're going to have problems.
Yeah.
And of course, Elf teams can always beat Nurgle teams simply because they don't have the tools to really deal with them. The diving tackle Nurgle warrior is interesting, but Burnt Boris the Blade is not enough by himself to stop this. Elves will just block you off most of the time. They don't really have that much of a problem getting rid of 1 strength 4 piece.
Yeah, especially if you don't have much guard to support it. And the scary part about being tall is that you're going into playoffs. There's often scary teams. It's a win at all costs sort of format, so you can't really protect a player. If you want to win, you got to sometimes expose that player that you might not normally would have wanted to. If you lose that tall player, then, well, you lose a lot of your team. I know I was in Miners playoffs with a very good ball carrier and a very good killer and basically nothing else, and then they both died, and then it made my next season very, very sad. So you have to be careful with those, but if you want to win, you might not be able to.
Yep. And speaking of elf teams that might beat Tommy, we have the Arcana, which we have confirmed 100% is his playoff opponent.
Yep, I'm gonna have to go find that. I was in.
It's cool. They are a 1760 Pro Elf. Yes. Yeah, Pro Elves. So
and that's our
very annoying. Right? Yep, very annoying for Nurgle to deal with. 1760 TV. They're kind of beastly. So they've got a thrower who has Blodge, Sure Hands. So not as much Blodge as, like, for instance, my Stays team. This team has 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's the Elven Union team? Yes, Tomo.
Sorry, Elven, what did I say? I said Pro Elves. That's Elven Union, right?
Yeah. I was just trying to find the team. I was confirming that it was an Elven Union team.
So another tall team, but elf teams always are. It is an elf team with 15 players. It might look to ditch some of these, but that is disgusting for an elf team to have that many. It has 3 guard. It actually has as many guard as more guard rather than Tommy does. So
yeah, it's a tall team, but the tallness is good because it's on the right players, right? It's the 2 catchers, the thrower, and the blitzer.
What do you think about the tower reversed?
Where is that? There, the catcher. Plus movement, plus agi. That's great. Leap to make those 2+ leaps, and then block. Keeps him on his feet. I think he's building him to be sort of a cage diver, but he's going to need more stuff to do that.
I mean, no, that player is in everything. That is a 1-turner that can hop over you. It's movement 12.
He's not a 1-turner yet.
No, I mean he is the 1-turner. He's movement 9, so he's the one he's passing to. But he doesn't have sprint, sure feet, or sidestep. Yeah, but you only need 3 pushes. It's not that bad. Or 2 pushes. It's not that bad at all. He's pretty easy to do, especially with 3 guard. He's a lot less. He's got a lot less problems in that area than others. He's got another catcher with Mighty Blow, so he does have a bit of punching potential.
The movement busts are really unfortunate. Like a movement 5 and a movement 6 on an elf team is exceptionally slow. But pro elves are slower than sort of normal other elves are, but they make up for that in skills.
Who's movement busted?
The magician is movement 5, and the emperor is movement 6.
And Death that's not updated on
5.
That's not updated on REBBL.net. So maybe he just played a game.
Oh, it's in. It is in game. Couple movement busts is really unfortunate. At least
I mean, especially on the thrower. Jeez, that's terrible.
Yeah, it's rough for him to get to the ball, but if you want to use another player to pick up the ball and give it to him, then he can huck it still very, very well with accurate and pass and ag4. And the blitzers are very nice. Even one of them being movement 6 is unfortunate. Like it's now a slow elf team, but it's still a very good elf team regardless of that.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think? I think this could go. As much as I want to cheer for Tommy Too Tall, this might be pretty hard. I mean,
it's pro elves with a bunch of inducements. This is going to be an incredibly hard matchup for Tommy.
And there weren't a whole lot of elves in. There was what, 1 elf team, 2 elf teams in his division. So he probably doesn't have a ton of experience playing against elfish teams, and the ones he did play were wood elves, which behave very differently than pro elf teams. So it could be pretty tough for him. I think they're going to get a lot of inducements, and his lack of guard doesn't actually really matter that much here, but his lack of tackle makes a pretty big difference. With 5 blodgers, 4 blodgers,
4 blodgers, yeah. Yeah, I mean it's gonna be pretty annoying. And like with a couple of niggles, like if either Pestigor go down, you're going to have either a foul coming in from this incredibly deep bench, like his kill potential in terms of removing linemen to expose the positionals is going to be a lot harder to pull off, given his tall status. So he's not getting that many Mighty Blow hits a turn.
You did, my stays, but we didn't predict the Nurgle to eat you. We think you're going to win it, but it's similar to what we've said about your team almost all season. In that, it's possible for Nurgle to win if they get lucky removals and stuff. But if you played 100 games, you'd probably win more often than he did.
Yeah, I think it's like 60-40.
You're just going to lose some players probably, but as long as you don't lose too many, I think you'll be able to outscore your problems. Yeah, and so this is the. I think this is going to be really hard for Tommy Too Tall, despite the movement busts and stuff.
I think it's like 35-65.
Yeah, I think I want. Unfortunately, this is going to be a tough match for him. Tomo being a very good coach too, so.
I mean, we'll be cheering you on for sure.
Best of luck.
But we'll try to watch it. So let us know when you get that planned. If we can't stream it, we'll watch it. If we can't, but we'll certainly try to stream it.
Somebody will, but
yeah. Generally speaking, in the round of 64, recappers get dib rights. So
yep.
Should be fun. We are awake.
Yeah, depends on when the times are. I believe Tomo is Big O, so it may be a potentially strange match time for us.
They'll often do like evenings. REL time is morning their time, so you can do weekends. It's not too bad.
This is what Cake's team looks like.
Have the Lizard team finally.
That's a lot of injuries, but I think most of them are
all
MNGs.
but one of them are MNGs, as I recall.
Let me find the one that is not an MNG.
Well, the skink got movement busted, but you just fire him.
Saurus got strength busted.
Yeah, that one is dead. So Spinosaurus Stanley II is dead, which is really unfortunate. But
the rest of these are just MNGs, I think. Nothing serious. Yeah, so he's going to lose a block guard Saurus, which is kind of unfortunate, but you don't have a strength 3 Saurus. Like, that's not a good piece to have.
No, exactly. His team is looking pretty good. He's going to be going in with a rookie Saurus, which blows, but he's going to be getting a ton of inducements, I think. So what is his actual TV? He is 1270. Let me pull the calculator.
REBBL.net is actually really good for this because it'll tell you what his current TV is.
Yeah, but it's been lying to me. Every TV has been wrong.
This one is right. His current TV is 1270, and his next match TV is 13. His next match TV will be 1390, but his actual TV is like 1750, I think, once all these MNGs come back.
Yeah, but he's going to be throwing out 120k from Spinosaurus Stanley and replacing it with an 80k Saurus. So he'll be 40k lower than what you have on there.
So he's
so what was it?
He'll be a 1710.
Okay.
Then
so
after that, after the 40k lower, it should be at 1710 if I'm doing this correctly.
Yep, kind of a basic Lizard team. Got 2 tackle, which is nice. He's got a mighty blow. He's got a strength up that he hasn't picked up guard yet. So he's a little light on the guard, especially as he just lost one of them. So he's only going to be going in with 2 guard. Velociraptor Vinny is an amazing skink, and the rest of them are rookies, which is perfect.
Yep. Yeah, a little bit of every skill. All of them have block. Unfortunately, one of them won't next game, but 5 of them now have block, and then various smattering of guard, break, tackle, mighty blow. Little bits and pieces here and there of the skills you want on Saurus, so that's nice. And the Croxagore is a good Crocs with guard and stand firm. Thankfully, he'll be coming back.
Yep, and he is going to be facing off against Zinj 7 Circles, which is a Chaos team. I think every one of you, other than Tommy Too Tall, ate a Claw team as your opening matchup, which wasn't too bad, obviously, for the Wood Elves, but everyone else is probably a little sad about.
Gonna have to find this team.
Yep. It's about 7 Circles. It's a 21-10 Chaos team.
I made the mistake of trying to spell Zinj in the coach thing, which has an S for some reason.
ZSINJ. Yeah.
Yes, 7 Circles, 21-10 Chaos.
So it's going to be 23-10, it looks like, because he's going to get an MNG reset on Gula, the block guard, Mighty Blow Claw Blitzer, Beastman rather.
That's something you don't get to see very often. A ... on the skill list, because there are too many skills on that Minotaur. You'll see it
because the Minotaur is basically a Nurgle or a Beast of Nurgle with Frenzy. It's got and block for that matter.
And Claw.
So it's AV up, block, Mighty Blow, Claw, Guard, Tentacles. It's an absolute monster.
This is a ridiculous Minotaur. I actually really like the AV here because he's also gotten Tentacles. Normally AV is kind of weird, but he's a big guy with armor 8. So going to armor 9 and having the guard tentacles block means that if you don't, that's actually, and he's wild animal. So even if you fail the wild animal, you still keep your tackle zones, and therefore you keep that guard tentacles. So he can be a really, really good roadblock player if you're not blitzing with him. And if you are blitzing with him, then you have Mighty Blow Claw Frenzy. I think the armor value is actually really good here. Especially you're also not afraid to block with him. A thing that you'll do very often with Beast of Nurgle is like, well, he's on an important player, just not going to activate it so that I don't have to roll the really stupid and just make sure the tentacle stays there. But you can just throw blocks with this guy, and that's fine because
you've got to worry about the frenzy. It would be you can't get frenzy and grab. Never mind. I was like, it'd be amazing if he had grab, but yeah, no.
But he has block to make the block more reliable, and even if he wild animals, he still gets the benefits of tentacles. Because wild animal, so
and
it's
guard,
it's a
and
really
just tackle zones in general. Yeah,
really cool
really
Minotaur.
Strong. I love it. He's got a really nicely developed warrior with block, tackle, mighty blow, claw, guard. He's got just a kind of a rookie one that's only got block. He's got 2 block, guard, mighty blow, one of which also has tackle. So a lot of tackle for a Chaos team, 4 in fact, which will not help him versus Cake. I guess it will versus the Skinks, of course. So yeah, it's not too bad.
And they're movement 5, which is less unreasonable than the movement 4 of Nurgle warriors. So it's they're a little speedier, so the tackle might help with the Skinks.
Yeah, totally.
And if they have to dodge past the tackle, that's the thing too, right?
So the good news for Cake, there's no Claw Mighty Blow piling on. There's only 3 Claw Mighty Blow if you count the Minotaur, which I suppose you should. Never count out the Minotaur. There's quite a bit of Mighty Blow, and there's actually quite a bit of Mighty Blow tackle, which is scary for the Skinks. Any skink that is exposed is going to eat. It's going to experience rather a very brief and violent death.
And the Wrestle Tackle Beastman is going to be able to target Cake's ball carrying skink without too much difficulty either. I mean, he's certainly slower, but Wrestle Tackle is how you knock over that skink. So.
Yep, and you get pretty easy 3 dice on skinks with horns or natural strength 4. So
yeah, 1 assist, and you have a 3 die.
You've even got a diving tackle Beastman, who is movement busted, so he's a little less scary. But if he ever gets on a skink, that skink is never getting away.
And his ball carrier is pretty nice too, with Lodge plus Agi and Foul Appearance, just for that extra little annoyance if he happens to potato somewhere.
I think I would have gone Sure Hands over Foul Appearance, but I like the memes.
It's a good ball carrying skill, but I think Sure Hands is. It depends on if you're playing.
I would argue Sure Hands is slightly more essential, but yeah, Foul Appearance is.
It depends on how you're using him, I guess. Like if there are no strip ball in your division, all you're doing is spending 20k to sometimes save a reroll.
Yeah, but the reliability gain there is important, I think. Not having to worry about losing your reroll to that in a turn can mean you can greed it on something else. Like he's got no pro, he's got no like.
I think this is fine as long as there's no strip ball lying around. If there's a bunch of strip ball, I would have taken Sure Hands instead.
Sure, but like here, I'll paint you a scenario that we've all had happen 1,000 times. You do your line blocks, you set up your blitz, you put your perfect killer into blitz one of their corner pieces, you 1 in 9 on the killer. You haven't picked up the ball yet. Say you're playing some team that could easily get behind you. You're now in a position where you either have to keep your killer based, dodge out with your killer, or risk failing a pickup. Like Sure Hands just takes that problem away and lets you kind of commit more rerolls elsewhere, which can kind of make your overall game more smooth.
Yeah, so that's a thing. But if you're against a team that can get behind you, you're also against a team that you don't really care if you're based up against for the most part, because you will win.
I don't think those teams exist. There's no team I'm happy to be based on with my best player, with like no real protection for them.
No, but I mean, like if they're dedicating the problem there is that a lot of your players have already acted, so you can't get your players back to defend against the people running behind you. Is the scary part about failing the pickup there. But, it doesn't really matter if you're missing a couple players in that scrum that's occurring now, because the team isn't going to be able to outblock you very well if it's also a team that's capable of getting behind you, because they're getting behind you in that case. So you can afford to bring players back to protect the ball in case of a pickup failure. In that case, if you've used your reroll. I mean, yeah, like I
just like the reliability. I'm a safe player.
There's arguments certainly both ways. It depends. I think it depends on how you're using him. What would I have taken? I probably would have taken Sure Hands, in all honesty. But I think it depends on how you are using it.
It's a cool pickup. And I think I don't actually remember what Foul Appearance on a Beastman looks like. I know what Foul Appearance on a Chaos Warrior looks like, because I have a Foul Appearance Chaos Warrior on my 1-minute team that's not allowed to take normal or strength skills. So
I think like it's either that they're on fire or they have the stupid little fart cloud under them. One of them is Disturbing Presence and one of them is Foul Appearance, and I don't remember which one.
I think Disturbing Presence is the one that's on fire.
Okay, so they have like a little fart underneath them then. It's not like a little fart animation. It's not particularly exciting. Anyway, I'm sorry, Cake, but you are going to die. Like Zinj takes this
I mean,
from you
he does
so often.
He does get a ton of inducements, and lizards have really good inducements.
I mean, they have one really good inducement.
Yeah, but he's great, and he's gonna get that. So, like, hold on, let me. I am actually gonna need the table because.
So Cake will be at 17. What did we say? He'll be at 1710. So he'll get exactly 300k. So you get Slibbly, which is like 250 or
wait,
whatever.
no, the Chaos are 2300.
They're 2100.
They're getting an MNG back. That's a 200k player.
They are 2100 in game currently with no MNGs.
Why is this so broken then?
Because it
I
doesn't,
think
it doesn't
the
update
MNG
all the time.
I think the MNG reset is bugging it out.
It probably is because it would be because the REBBL.net like scrapes leagues, and if they get invited to a weird separate league to do the MNG reset, and then they get invited to playoffs. So I very much imagine that the REBBL.net doesn't scrape the weird side league that some admin set up to reset their MNGs.
All right. Fair enough.
They get
2110.
exactly 300k.
Is he? No, wait, he's at 2110. And he said he's at 1710. It's 400k.
Oh, sorry, 21. Yeah, I'm tired and sick.
It's fine.
But yeah, 400k. Sorry.
2 math degrees. So he'll get a wizard and Slibbly probably, or he could get a Babe, an Appo, and Slibbly.
I think Babe, Appo, and Slibbly.
Yeah, probably. The Appo isn't pixel huggy. The Appo is to play to win. You Appo the first 2 badly hurts, or a badly hurt and a KO on turn 9, something like that. Cake can do it. Cake can also shed some bench to get more inducements if he wants. He's got too many skinks. You don't want a deep bench with lizards because they're 60k players that are literally worthless. Especially against this team with its tackle spam. But this is very much a team that out pitch controls the lizards. It out tackles the lizards. Like, this is a chaos team that's less designed to kill, but way better off fighting lizards than most chaos teams are.
He outguards the lizards. He's going to outblock the lizards. He's going to out mighty blow, outclaw the lizards. The lizards technically outstrength him, but the guard like covers up a lot of that. And one of those Saurus is going to be a rookie Saurus, which is
he is going to have the full 7 Saurus though.
Yep, that is a lot of strength, but it's not too difficult for Chaos to overcome with this much Claw Mighty Blow and Guard available. I think Zinj takes this over Cake like the majority of the time.
He's either gonna have to outplay or outroll Zinj.
Yeah, the skink could do some nonsense because you can never count out a lizard team that has a skink that gross. But I think it's going to be like, I think it'll be on the back of some lucky nonsense.
Well, a lot of his grossness is his block, his built-in rerolls of dodge and sure hands, which just aren't as relevant in a team that spams tackle and has wrestle. Like, a lot of the like agi up is always useful because even if you put tackle on a skink that's agi 4, it's a 2+, right? But as soon as you take away that built-in reroll, you eliminate a lot of the value that Velociraptor Vinny has. So I think Vinny is less disgusting in this matchup than he is in most. Like, Vinny is a skink that makes like War Dancers cry because he has block, which almost no skink has, and he has sure hands, which definitely almost no skink has. So suddenly that 2-die with strip ball is not as good as most War Dancer blitzes are. So
that's what the 2 playoff games, or 4 playoff games, I guess, look like. Those are our 4 playoff coaches from REL 6 and REL 7 and what they currently look like. How the leaderboards for REL 6 and REL 7 shaped up. So we have one more thing to do, and that is determine our playoff or our tipping comp winner, I guess, right?
It's you.
Yes.
You won.
So before this week, I was at 171 and you were at 151. For the playoff in Div 6 prediction, which I think was 5 points, right?
5 points per correct. Becky.
Yes. You predicted the orcs and the dwarves, neither of which made it. And I predicted the dwarves and my stays, the wood elves, and the wood elves made it. So that is +5 for me. Then in week 13, or so the matches for REL 6, do you have the plus scores there?
We both got +6 because none of the games got played.
So I go to 182 and you are at 161 after REL 6. And then REL 7, you predicted Cake and Rock Lobstrosity, so that's +5 for you. And I predicted Iron Master and Tommy Tutal, so that's +5 for me.
Yep.
And then I won every prediction in Div 7. So
I believe so. Yes. How many of them were there? There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 real games.
Yeah, but one of them was a tie.
Yes. So you got 15, and I got -5.
Okay. So that means I will finish at 202. And you will finish at 161. So
I did it.
The end result is I win our tipping comp. I don't know if that means anything.
It does. You beat me in REL and destroyed my team. You retired my team, and you beat me in the tipping comp. So I think that officially makes you Wonder Twin A.
So
I think I have to retire the Wonder Twin A mantle.
I think I can. I mean, I guess I get to be Wonder Twin A until the next occurrence of something.
I mean, we're not going to fight each other for a while. Like, I'm not fighting you in the AD League. I'm definitely not fighting you in Clan League, and I'm not going to be fighting you in REL. So, I mean, this might stand for a season or two.
Yeah, I guess for the next season. I guess for season 10, I get to be Wonder Twin A.
There you go.
And then we'll see what happens after season 10. But yeah, so that's been us for 13 weeks. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I certainly did. We'll be back next season to do some sort of div reviews. Depends on what divs we get. So
we're gonna keep crawling up. We started with the lettered. This time we got 7 and 8, or 6 and 7, I should say.
Started from the bottom. Now we here.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing something. To all of those coaches who watched the last 13 weeks and that we reviewed, good luck in playoffs if you've made it, or in your next season of REL. When you
hopefully we'll see a few of you in our new divs. Usually we've been following a couple of people for I mean we had Archangel last season too, and
hopefully we'll see a bunch of you again, whether it is either in a div we're reviewing or in one of the divs we're playing in. So
I'll be re-rolling fresh, so come fight me.
I will not be. So, and I imagine I'll go up a bit, having finished like top half of the table. So I'll probably be in 6 or 5 or something next season.
No, you're going to Div 3.
Ah, okay. Well,
I'm getting you fucked.
All right, I guess I'm going to Div 3 then.
Paid metal muddy.
As long as I don't end up in REL 1, I'll be fine. Hey, well, at least if I make it that high, I'll have more chances to make the playoffs. And that's what happened in this season. Is I got to the end. I was like, well, there's only one playoff spot, and I'm gonna have to win 10-0 to make it. So I'm just gonna derp around for this last game. But if there's more playoff spots, then perhaps I can make it for once. That'll be exciting.
I like that I finished with a TD differential of 14 and still didn't make playoffs.
Sometimes the lack of playoff spots can be weird. I
would have if we were one div higher. I finished second. So.
I made the minors playoffs with a touchdown differential of -1. So
you did. That was the best thing. We were going into it, and Ben was like, I can only make playoffs if like these matches play out this exact way. And it was like 3 or 4 matches, and it happened exactly like that.
The one that really mattered was I needed 2 specific coaches to tie exactly. One of them could not have won the match that they played. The only way I went is if they tied.
And I think you were like running your Monte Carlo simulations, and you were like, I have like a 5% chance of making playoffs, and you did.
Yep, it was great. And then my whole team died, so it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, you got destroyed by FD, and then I destroyed FD, so it all comes full circle.
Perfect. Thanks for watching, guys. There'll be no more div reviews from us for a while, but I'll try to be casting some playoff games, so try to support our lovely REBBL streamers while we go through the next, 8 weeks of playoffs. It'll be very fun, very entertaining. I'll be around in a lot of the streams, so I hope to see you there. We'll be back next season. Feel free to watch the random games that I play sometimes. And until then, I've been Steakmittens.
And I'm Shadorra.
And we'll see you in season 10.